The year is 1905. The world watches, breath held, as two colossal fleets prepare for a clash that will redefine naval warfare forever. At the heart of it all stands a man so brilliant and so resolute that he would forever be known as the Nelson of the East. But who was this profound admiral? And how did a nation with no significant naval tradition produce such a titan, one that could stand toe-to-toe with the world's naval superpowers? Enter Togo Heihachiro. But before we can get to his triumphs, we need to look back at what shaped him into the person he became. Before commanding steel behemoths in history's greatest modern sea battles, Togo Heihachiro was just a boy, growing up in a Japan on the brink of radical change. In 1848, in the isolated samurai heartland of Japan's Satsuma domain, a child named Nakagoro was born, the third son of a prominent warrior family. Even at a young age, this boy, who would later be known as Togo Heihachiro, displayed a surprising blend of courage, a thirst for knowledge, and a sharp, calculating mind. A mind that already knew how to challenge authority and the status quo, even if the authority was his own mother. The legend goes that one day, Togo's mother, perhaps tired of her child's demands, told him there was no more sweets left in the house when he begged for a treat. But the young boy was not easily deterred. As soon as the adults were gone, he systematically raided the store cupboards, devouring every sweet morsel he could find. When his mother returned, shocked at the ransacked pantry, he simply replied with the logic that what does not exist could not be taken. A mischievous answer, perhaps, but one that revealed a boy who thought outside the box and wasn't afraid to act on his own convictions. Convictions that would serve him well as a commander of a warship later in life. But childhood, even for a bright and cunning boy, was fleeting. Japan in the mid-19th century was on the cusp of an explosive transformation and modernization. Young Togo was trained traditionally as a samurai, learning the ancient ways of the sword and discipline, and by the age of 15, his intellect was already being put to use, working as a copyist for the powerful Satsuma clan. It's a curious paradox for the time. Japan, despite being an island nation, had for centuries deliberately turned its back on the sea. Its naval prowess was almost non-existent. However, the Satsuma clan, strategically positioned to maintain contact with the distant Ryukyu Islands, found themselves in a unique and incredibly vital maritime position. They alone understood that Japan's future may very well be decided on the water, as more and more foreigners came into contact with the land of the rising sun. Their powerful daimyo held a revolutionary belief for their time, that Satsuma needed its own modern naval force to protect its interests. But this vision proved to be deeply unpopular and was actively opposed by the conservative shogunate, who clung to Japan's isolationist policies. They saw no need for Western technology and no need for powerful warships, until, that is, Commodore Matthew Perry and his black ships burst their way into Edo Bay. Perry's arrival hit like an earthquake. It shattered centuries of isolation and forced a reluctant shogunate to greenlight the construction of Western-style vessels. Seizing the window of opportunity, the Lord of Satsuma, with his foresight vindicated, immediately spearheaded the ambitious creation of the modern Japanese Navy. But they needed to man these revolutionary ships. A call went out to volunteers. Togo's father, ever pragmatic, pushed his son to join. But Togo needed very little convincing. He was already captivated by the potential of this new endeavor. Then, in 1862, a diplomatic incident escalated dramatically. A British merchant was killed by a Satsuma samurai after they disrespected the daimyo after refusing to yield and even riding up the middle of the daimyo's procession up on the Tokaido Road. The British demanded reparations. Satsuma, with strong resolve, refused. The inevitable result was the Battle of Kagoshima. The Satsuma forces, including young Togo manning fort artillery, had braced for a land battle, but the British had no such intentions. They used their brutal naval power in a bombardment upon the city. Togo's crude first experience of this new kind of warfare left quite the impression. Togo had already began to embrace this future, studying Western naval science and shipbuilding in Nagasaki. But the rapid political upheaval of Japan's Meiji Restoration abruptly interrupted his studies. The shogunate's long-running rule was overthrown, and power was restored to the emperor. But this shift did not come peacefully. Many daimyos, unwilling to surrender their power, plunged Japan into a brutal civil war. And tragically, some of Togo's very first naval battles were fought not against foreign invaders, but against his own countrymen. Once the bloody civil war concluded, Togo initially sought to contribute to Japan's modernization by studying something practical, railroad engineering in England. But fate and the newly evolving Japanese government had different plans for him. Instead, he was dispatched to England's Gosport Naval Prep School and later the Worcester Academy. His curriculum consisted not just of naval strategy, but also international law and maritime commerce, shaping him into a statesman of the sea. After returning home, he swiftly rose through the ranks of the Imperial Japanese Navy. He even stood toe-to-toe with the formidable United States in a tense show of force to defy their annexation of the Kingdom of Hawaii, a testament to Japan's rapidly growing power upon the seas. But while he was a shrewd diplomat with a strong sense of maritime law, it was in the midst of battle where Heihachiro truly shone, and that is where his legend would be forged. Next time, in Part 2, we'll delve into the explosive conflicts that cemented his legacy, the Sino-Japanese and Russo-Japanese Wars. You won't want to miss how this samurai's son solidified his mastery of the modern ocean. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions or topics you'd like to know more about, please leave them in the comments below. Until next time!